Hello everybody. I wonder, have you ever been on a picnic? Perhaps in a park or at the seaside? I've been on lots of picnics, but I've never had a breakfast picnic. Have you? Well, there is a breakfast picnic in the Bible, and you can find it in St. John's Gospel, chapter 21, beginning at the first verse. So you can read all about it yourself after you've listened to the story. Some of Jesus' friends were feeling very puzzled. They knew that Jesus had died. They'd seen him on the cross, and they saw how it hurt him, and it made them very sad and upset. They weren't happy at all. But then, 3 days later, some of the ladies went to the place where Jesus' body had been put. But when they got there, they found he wasn't there. But they saw an angel. Here's a picture of the angel speaking to the women. The angel said to the women, "Jesus isn't here. He's not dead, he's alive. Go and tell your other friends that Jesus is alive." They couldn't believe it. It was very peculiar. Very strange, but they rushed off to tell the other friends. How could Jesus be alive? They knew he was dead. But some of the other friends had seen Jesus occasionally, but he wasn't quite the same. Sometimes they didn't recognize him at first. They didn't know it was Jesus. And sometimes he came into the room. He was just there. He didn't come through the door. He was just there with them, and he talked to them, and then he just wasn't there. It's all very, very strange, very confusing. So one day, Peter and John and some of the other friends said, "Let's go fishing," because they were fishermen, and that's what they used to do before they met Jesus. That was what they did for their work, to earn their money to keep their families. So they thought, yes, we'll go fishing. So they got into their boat, might have been a bit like this one, and they sailed out into the middle of the lake. And when they got in the middle, they threw their nets over. Here's a bit of net. They threw it over the boat. And they waited and waited, and after a bit, they pulled it back in, but there were no fishes at all. So they sailed to a different place, and threw their net back in again, waited, and pulled the net back in. There was still no fish. They were fishing at night because it was at night that the fish come up to the top to eat, and they thought that would be the best time to catch lots of fish, but they didn't catch any at all. So they kept trying all night, moving their boat across the lake, throwing in the net. Still they didn't catch any fish, and it was beginning to be morning, so they decided that that was it. So they sailed towards the shore. As they got closer, they saw a man standing on the beach, and he called out to them and he said, "Young men, have you caught any fish?" And they said, "No, not one." So the man said, "Throw your net over the right side of the boat." And the friends thought, it's not much point because we didn't catch any all night. We're not going to catch any now. But there was something about the man that made them want to do what he said. So they threw the net over the right side of the boat, and when they hauled it in, do you know, it was full of fish. Silvery fish like these. Now I've only got 2, but in the Bible it said there were 153. So the net was very heavy. They began to pull it into shore. And then John looked at the man again and he said, "It's Jesus!" And Peter was so excited he jumped out of the boat into the water. Fortunately they were quite near the shore, so the water wasn't very deep. He wanted to be with Jesus as quickly as he could. So he rushed to the shore, and the others brought the boat in with all the fish. And they found Jesus had made a little fire and he was cooking some bread. And he said to them, "Bring some of the fish too, and we'll cook those." So they all gathered round the fire with Jesus, and they had a breakfast picnic of bread and fish toasted over the fire. Very unusual. And then the disciples, the friends, Peter and John and the others, they knew for sure that Jesus really was alive, and they knew as well that even when they couldn't see him, that he was alive. And it's the same for us, because we can't see Jesus, but we know that he is alive, and we can be his friends too, just like Peter and John and the others.